Welcome back to the AI Marketers Playbook, where we cover actionable frameworks to actually leverage AI in business. I'm Audrey Chia, your host, and today I have with me someone whom I deeply admire and respect, Rory Flynn. Now, Rory is the founder of Systematic AI, where he specializes in operationalizing common AI tools for businesses with the goal of amplifying productivity, impact, and efficiency. And prior to Systematic AI, Rory was an e-commerce and email marketing expert, helping over 100 clients increase their sales by over $100 million. Rory, I am so glad to have you with us.
Audrey, it's awesome to be here. This is a long time in the making, I think, but no, really excited. I'm glad to be here and hope we can dive into some really cool stuff today.
Awesome. I think for our listeners, it would be really great if you could share a bit more about your background and how you started with Systematic.
Totally. Yeah. So I come from the email marketing world, the agency world, a lot of it focused in the e-com space. This was something that I wasn't expecting to be in AI. It never really was like, oh, I saw, this tool online. I have to be really good at it. It was more so a necessity. So back when we were doing, a lot more, or when I was with the agency, we just had needs. There's no other way to put it. Like we had a very small team, we had a big client base, we had a lot of demands, and at the time we were kind of drowning, to be quite honest. So it was something that we utilized. We, happened to just see something like Midjourney pop up on Twitter. If everyone's not familiar with that, it's an AI image generator, but it was like, oh, this thing can do a lot. Let's just go play around with it. And, first it started with me creating, like aliens and spaceships like everyone else does. But that quickly turned into, wait, can we do this for brand assets? Because we realized that something like email, right, like was the perfect medium for this to begin with. Because number one, it was small format, because at that point you couldn't really upscale any images in AI 16, 18 months ago almost. And I don't know if anyone here goes and checks their old emails in their promotional inbox. I don't think anyone does. So it's a really short lifespan, about like 8 to 10 hours at max. So it was a great opportunity to test, and it could help us tell better visual stories within email, and we just didn't have to repurpose old assets over and over and over and over again. So once we sort of nailed that down, it was like, where else can we use AI? And then that kind of opened Pandora's box to, how we started, can we plug this into operations? Can we plug this into, account management? Can we plug this into, the onboarding process? So it kind of just snowballed, but it started with one little problem. And then before you know it, you have a ton of problems, and then there's AI for that. So
I love that last line. I think it's all about like figuring out where can AI help you in your workflows, right? Because a lot of people like they get so overwhelmed by all the different tools, but actually it's like starting with the problems and then figuring out how can I solve this tiny problem and then putting things together to form, a much bigger system.
totally. Yeah, I think there's this big misconception, right? I think a lot of people are just looking for AI to do 100% of the work and it all be like finished product. Like, oh, I need to create my ads 100% with AI. I need to create my copy all 100% with AI. But like most of our problems that kind of probably don't allow us to create that stuff in general start on the operational side. And it's all little things that you don't even think about. Sometimes it's, if in the agency world, I'm sure there's some people in the agency world listening. You have account managers, you have, sales reps, things like that. They're on calls all the time, right? Like all day, every day. And, you have 10, 15, 20 calls a week, right? I think about certain things that used to frustrate the hell out of me, which was we have to take notes on these calls in handwritten form and then transfer them to a digital medium. It's like such a simple process that no one probably thinks about too much, but how do we, because that, if you're going to take your notes from a 30-minute call, then it's going to take you time to organize them, then put them in a CRM or somewhere else that everyone else can have access to them. Probably takes 10 minutes. If you're doing 20 calls a week, it's 200 minutes a week, 800 minutes a month, 9,600 minutes a year. It's like that across 10 account managers. That's, we're spending almost 10,000 minutes a year moving something from a pad to like just a computer, which is crazy. So you look at things like Fireflies or any of these other automated note takers. You can build a simple zap from Fireflies to your CRM platform, Monday, Salesforce, whatever that might be, and you just saved maybe 10,000, like 10,000 minutes per person, right? Like it's just crazy that that's available to us now. And I always have to plug Fireflies because it's like changed my life because I can't take notes and do calls at the same time. So simple things like that you don't even think about. But that's just one little issue. That's one little task in a business. There's so many. So it's just start small.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
I
definitely
think like
start
what you
small.
said, like, I think it's all the little things, right, that add up that people don't
Hmm.
realize that take so much time from our day-to-day workflows. And a lot of creatives, and because we are both from an agency background, some of them might be afraid that AI is going to take over their jobs. But at the same time, if they see it in a different perspective, it frees up so much more time for you to do more. Like you just have to shift your perspective, right? And then you realize how much more you can do. But I would love to also ask you, like, how exactly are you perhaps using AI in your own business? Give us examples, like how can someone get started with it?
Totally. Yeah. So, of course, from my perspective, a lot of this is doing a lot of organic content. So naturally, having a partner to help create images for me is great. I don't have to use stock sites anymore. I can really tailor my content to what I want it to be. I can give it a very unique and distinctive look, so it stands out, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, right? Where there's a lot of corporate material on there, and then I'll just throw a picture of a face with neon glowing tattoos on there, and it's a definitely something that most people haven't seen today. I would assume maybe maybe a little bit more so 5 6 months ago than now, but that's one way. I mean, that's really simple. Even just using it as a cover for a carousel, or an asset for a website, or something you're going to put on organic social. That's something we've been doing, but we've really tried to systematize some of these processes, especially in, I come from this e-commerce world. We work a lot with media buyers. They have a lot of issues, just like every other role. But one of them is always just a lack of assets. Their whole opportunity and their whole basic function, right, is they have to put ads in the right place and make money off of them. So, what really happens there is oftentimes they work with fatigued assets, stuff that's just been utilized over and over and over again. They don't have enough variety to test and then to optimize, so that again, the ads don't perform as well. So they really just need new creative to cycle through. So we've been focusing on that a lot, how we can amplify their creative load. A lot of the time it's in static, still fairly decent split in terms of what produces on a platform like Meta.
Yeah.
That's really a big part of their ad sets. So yeah, that's what we've been focusing on, really just finding, again, like these little tasks, like building a process around it, building SOPs around it, and then systematizing it so that it's easy and it can help a variety of teams throughout an organization. So it's that's one of, I don't know, many things. There's a lot of other ways you can go. I really like outside of the outside of just like the image creation world, is in the analytics side. That's really where I find some tools like ChatGPT to be insanely helpful. Finding different insights and key trends and patterns that something like Shopify or something like Gumroad or LinkedIn, even itself, their analytics are very, I mean, face value. You can't really
Yeah.
find really intricate trends without paying for a really high end software or a consulting firm. So, having something like that at your disposal is insane. And what it can pick out is insane. So, yeah, I love it for that. I love it for helping me build strategy and just being a thought partner there.
There is so much value to unpack in there. I don't know if everyone is catching this, but you mentioned so many different use cases for AI in just one breath. It's true. Like most people would be like, oh, I use it to, write one headline. But for yourself, you look at the way you break it down, right? There is a system for thinking, a system for analysis, and a system for creating work. And there are so many buckets in which we can use AI to really enhance our day-to-days, and also like how we can really streamline certain workflows. Let's talk about analytics, right? I think this is something nobody really talks about unless you have a more data-driven mind. How
Hmm.
would you use AI to help a business break down certain metrics? And what kind of metrics are you looking for? And what tools do you use for that?
Totally. So I'll give you a great example. It's just something that I do on my own, right? Like I sell digital products on Gumroad, and Gumroad is a content creation or a curation platform. Basically, it just sells. You can buy and sell digital content on there. Now, I like to think about this in terms of my profession or my experience, which is in the email marketing side. It's really hard for a lot of people to understand email marketing if you haven't been in it, because there's so many moving parts. But I'm basically taking what I want. What is the end goal that I want, and then reverse engineering it, right? So for me, being an email marketer, like, automation is gold when it comes to marketing communication, but that automation has to be good, right? It can't just be, let's just throw out this random stuff left and right and see if it works. Now, the way I've utilized analytics there was like, for example, I'll break this down granularly, right? I essentially, when I look at something like Gumroad, I offer two different types of products. One is free, one is paid, right? So naturally, you're going to have a lot of people that download for free, and there's going to be people that buy stuff. So to me, I'm looking at analytics because I need to, Gumroad doesn't have the best analytics for this stuff. So, I need another thought partner to actually go through it. So I'll plug in, I'll look at my different sales trends. I'll obviously not put anyone's information into something like ChatGPT. I make sure to go and create unique identifiers for these things. But essentially, I'll take a look at what's the percentage breakdown of people who download free products versus buy paid products. Then from there, I'll ask ChatGPT, like, what's the average, or what's like the typical conversion rate between someone who buys something for, or someone who downloads something for free versus someone who pays for something. Right now, I get like a conversion rate. So I know that works. Then it's like, okay, how long does that typically take them to go from a free download to a paid download? Right now, I get a time frame, whether that's 3 to 4 days. That's typically the sort of situation there. Then okay, what typically, like in terms of like the buying sequence, what do they download for free, and then what do they purchase? What is the common trend there? Now, this all sounds like it might be just random thought process, but now I've just built an automation. I know how long it takes for someone to go from free to paid. I know what products they like to buy in sequence. Now I can build an automation around that, right? So now it's okay, whenever they purchase X, now I send an email at Y talking about this, right? So that's something that wouldn't be available to me to synthesize through 5,000 purchases over the last, couple months and be like, yeah, I can do this with a Google spreadsheet, right? That would take a Google, like a Excel expert or something like that. So now with tools like, ChatGPT, which is completely objective, it's just looking at the numbers and computing. I tend to think it's better at that than almost anything else, because you're not really asking it too much of it just to do like its baseline functions. But it's almost like having a 360 conversation with a spreadsheet, right? It's like a holistic, four-dimensional conversation. You're not just looking at a spreadsheet, which is 2D, and it's like, oh, what this formula in? It's like, well, how can I leverage this? Where else do you see opportunities? What would be some insights that a typical human wouldn't catch, or what's some advanced analytics that we think we should, look at? It's like your partner. So, that's a really long answer, but I think it's a good way to think about it, because that's not just for email, right? You can do that for a lot of different situations, whatever you're trying to reverse engineer the outcome, and then utilizing the tool to get those analytics that you need. So that's, I think that's my favorite usage of it. I'm also just not really great at getting it to write like me, so maybe I'm biased.
Well, you just don't know the
Yeah.
tricks for that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I love that you said that. Sometimes like people think that ChatGPT is only great for the output, but actually it can help in like the higher level thinking and strategic part of things. So like even for me, what I get it to do is to analyze a lot of my audience transcripts whenever I have customer testimonials or interviews. And then you can really pull out the key and common insights that you find across the different kinds of chats, right? Because each chat is 1 hour long. And as a human, it'll take you so much time to process all the information, right? So even that bit of like using it as a partner to help you to think of ideas or concepts has been very effective for me. And speaking of like, workflows, I was thinking, how could an ad agency streamline their workflow? Like, do you have an example of how you would break down their processes and make it like 10 times faster with AI?
Totally. Like I said, look, there's so many different functions within a team, right? Like everyone has their own tasks. Every person, and if it's a 5-person unit, everyone's got a lot of tasks on their plate. Which ones can we look at to eliminate time? Because that's all, essentially this promise of AI, right, is that it's going to reduce time and amplify productivity, probably save us some cost if that's, again, depending on what tools you're using. But, again, we're looking at functions, right? So I look at media buyers, in a sense, like if they're doing static ads, number one, they have to create the ads, right? You have to either one, you're using some canned platform, which might not get the best, results. You want to have more control over the output. So, we look at simple things like even copy pasting, copy and images into an ad template, things like that. That might take a really long time for a designer or a media buyer, whoever's doing it. It's simple things like that could take forever just to format this stuff. So, try to attack that process. Number one, teaching people how to create different unique visuals with They're, with the AI tools, utilizing brand imagery to sort of hack their own identity and create unique either lifestyle or product photos from that. And then, from there, so once you have the assets, how do you amplify it? How do you get the ad creative? Right? Like that's cool to have the assets, but how do you get more out of them and how do you do it quicker so you can get this stuff uploaded? Because, media buyers, it's almost like day trading back there. When you're in the platform like Meta, oftentimes, you're killing ads throughout the day and you need to add different ads back into the into your ad sets and things like that. So just how do we make that process more efficient so you don't have to worry about just wasting money essentially? So yeah, it's I can definitely show you a little bit of that if that would be useful for the audience. I can
Yeah,
show
I
you a little
think
bit
it
how we
would
break
be
that down.
that would be amazing. So if you could share with us, your breakdown, and of course we have some listeners who can't see the slides, so you can just talk them through your process. I think we will gain so much value from that.
Totally. All right, let me share my screen real quick. This is okay. Share screen. Let's do this. Okay, can we see that now?
Awesome.
Good. All right, cool. So this is typically how we're breaking this down. Like this is just one process, right? Like this isn't the holy grail. This is just how we do it for some of the, especially on the static side, right? So I think, one thing to be cognizant of is being creative within your own workflows, right? Like your workflow might look different than my workflow, but this is typically how we do it. So when we're starting this, essentially what we're doing is we're building templates out. So we build these templates out in Figma. Oftentimes we're not going too crazy on them because we're in such a, depending on what phase you're in the media buying standpoint, right? Like you could be in testing, you could be in optimization, whatever. Oftentimes we're just picking winners, like previous templates that have worked, we know have good data on them. So we're either one, building them out to mimic that, or number two, we're utilizing the same ones, just maybe changing some different elements. So we'll build out these templates in Figma. And I think I should go back one thing here just to show you how like actually this breaks down. So if let's just say you wanted to create 1,000 ads, do you need 1,000 ads? No, but I'll show you kind of how that looks. So it's basically if you wanted 1,000 ads, and a lot of times we're just talking about variety and small changes in ad sets, you don't need to have 1,000 unique ads. Maybe it's an image with a couple different sets of copy. Maybe it's a couple, one set of copy with a bunch of different images, right? Like, or you want to test CTA buttons, or you want to test different, across different aspect ratios, things like that. So when we're doing this, if we were to do basically only 5 images, 5 different headlines or sub-headlines, and 5 unique call to actions, and if, let's just say, again, outside of Meta, if we were doing this across 8 aspect ratios, so you think YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Google, whatever, those are the different mediums that you're advertising on. Basically, if you just made like every possible combination of those, you'd have 1,000 different ads, right? So again, this could be 200 ads, this could be 20. It doesn't have to be 1,000. I'm just using that number because it sounds cool. But really, we've done this for again at that level. So the 5 tools that we typically utilize for this, number one is we use Midjourney or Stable Diffusion for images. Those are, again, to create assets. You can also use your own assets. It does not have to be AI generated. A lot of times we're using ChatGPT for copy to either one, get us really close and make small edits, or two, just to generate in full. Then we use Figma to build the ad templates. Then we use this Figma plugin. It's called CopyDoc. I would suggest for anyone that is, moving a lot of data and trying to create a lot of things at the same time, it's a really good plugin. It's free and it's awesome. And we'll go through what that looks like a little bit. And then any sort of like Excel or spreadsheet software, right? So that's typically, that'll all work. Now, the process that we're looking at, right, is like I said, we create these templates in Figma. Then we go and we either generate our images in Midjourney / Stable Diffusion / any other image platform. And then we'll utilize, real images as well. We generate our copy in ChatGPT. Then we organize all of that into a spreadsheet, which is probably going to take you the longest of all of this process, which might be all of 15 minutes. And then we will generate the ads in Figma while running the CopyDoc plugin. So you look at this, it seems pretty straightforward, right? It's not crazy. When you go into it, basically like when we're generating templates, like I said, we're using high-performing templates with the structured aspect ratios. We add placeholders in here for headlines, for subheadlines, and then the CTA. So basically, if you're thinking about how you can link between a spreadsheet and Figma template, right? Like you want to have this, they need to connect, like they need to talk to each other. So you have to have, different places that, the data can be shared across. So when we do that, typically then we'll generate images, right? Like if we don't have images to utilize, we'll go and generate the images. Like we'll hack our little brand identity so this can be very translatable across images. Pick winners that we want to utilize, get them loaded up. Then when we generate copy, right? Like everyone's process is different here. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be, you can go through your chain of thought prompting, you go through your mega prompts, whatever. I'm not an expert on, ChatGPT copy generation, but I know how to get what I want out of it. So it's basically, we'll feed and prime the system with a number of different things. A lot of it is utilizing previous data, brand guidelines, different prompts that we've utilized in the past to get it there. But I think some of the most important things, especially in the ad realm, is focusing on copywriting guidelines and restrictions, because we all know ChatGPT likes to get a little bit verbose at times. So, again, like a CTA that's 6 words isn't going to work, right? Like it needs to be, CTA is less than 2 words. A headline with 13 words isn't going to work either. So maybe, headline in less than 5 words. But we're utilizing all these different things to kind of narrow down that focus, like, brand guidelines, tone of voice, different examples from brand marketing, target audience, product focus, which is also important, like what the benefits are of the products, things like that. So we'll get copy. I think, like I said, everyone has a different process for this, but this is how we've been able to generate pretty consistently. Now, this is, like I said, is the most boring thing that you will probably ever see or do in this process, and it's just organizing everything into a spreadsheet. You can also have ChatGPT do this for you, but like I said before, we're just setting up these different headers up here with whatever they're linking to in the template. So if I go back, right, we have our headline, our subheadline, we have our CTA, right? So those are all going to be linked together, and then we're just putting the different copy sets in across however many different ads we're doing. We also put the image name for whatever image we want to link into those ads, so that, again, and then also the template, which template it's going to, the name of it. So now when we do this, right, basically what you do is you take this spreadsheet, you export it, right, into a CSV file, and then essentially from there you zip it up with the images into a zip file with the images that you're going to utilize, and you head over to Figma, you highlight the templates that you have, and then you just press, you run the CopyDoc plugin and press sync. Just like that, everything will go from the spreadsheet to the ads, right? And then from there, they're in there. So no copy pasting, no dropping images in, resizing them, everything like that. They will go into it. So it's really a time saver when it comes to this. I think, it's not like we're stealing creativity from anyone here. I don't think any designer wants to go and copy paste a bunch of text and reformat it a bunch of times. So now it's all in here, right? And it's, you can do 1,000 ads in less than an hour, 1,000 different variations, because variations are, again, super important, especially when it comes to copy. But simply just like that, now they're all in Figma. You can go in there and you can edit. You can edit you can trim the size down. You can maneuver the images. You don't have to worry that these are just like done and you can't actually maneuver them. So it's just a way, like I said, if we're going to do, basically like 1,000 ads, right? Think about how much time that would take to just copy paste every single thing, resize stuff, add the photos, add the copy. It's great for testing. It's great for getting these different variables, out into the marketplace. It's also great for localization, right? Like I think this is something that is pretty, it's not something that would have been accessible, a while back. Really, we have the ability to start talking about, again, even from an image perspective, right? If you're a multinational corporation, if you have an American model eating a hamburger, you might not want to run that in, Asia, right? Like maybe doesn't hit the same as it does with AI. We can slightly alter that photo to be more local to the market, or copy-wise too, right? You look at something like, how we speak in New York might sound totally different than how we speak down in Charleston, South Carolina. Utilizing different vernacular and things like that, that's where ChatGPT can help, utilizing common words, things like that. And it's just, it's major from a time-saving perspective, but like the thing about utilizing a process like this, it's not all AI, which I love. It's just how to take your AI stuff and then amplify it, right? So really like that Figma process, that's replicable, not just with any AI generated images. You could take one winning ad and turn it into 50 different variations, right? You could take winning copy and test 10 different photos or 20 different photos. You could take one winning image and test 50 different pieces of copy, right? So it's a great way to do it. It's not just, this isn't just, really limited to ads. You could think
Yeah.
about this for YouTube thumbnails, social content, anything that requires just mass production in volume. And that's how you can really just think about utilizing the tools at your disposal, things that your designers already know, things that you already know, and just, really take it to the next level. And we're saving time on little things, copy pasting, right? Like that, who would think that that would take hours in a day, but it does. So, yeah,
Yeah.
long explanation, but I
But
think
this is
it's,
beautiful flow. I think there's someone who runs ads myself, right? And because I'm also creating ad creators, I know how much time it takes to do like the small tweaks. And sometimes when you're doing A/B testing, all you need is a tiny headline tweak, or you just need a second visual that maybe pops a bit more, and you'll see your conversion rates just drastically change with these simple tweaks. So for you to be able to piece together different parts of a process to make content that can be tested and experimented with and optimized in such a short period of time, I think that is actually the real magic in AI. And I also wanted to talk about the copy part of things because I have been
yeah,
testing a few different tools for copywriting for ad creatives. And interestingly, ChatGPT is the worst of all the chatbots there are right now. It's true, we have come a long way. In fact, right now, Gemini and Meta AI are actually, for now, two of the best tools I have seen for ad copy, and you should check them out.
interesting. I definitely will. Now, Meta makes sense to me now that you say that, because I mean, where is their data coming from? I think we understand that, but that makes a lot of sense. I've always found ChatGPT for whatever reason, anything that's longer than a couple words, to me, it starts to sound generic. I mean, obviously, you can manipulate it if you
Yeah,
get good. I've done that, but when you get it to short and punchy, to me, it tends to do very well because it's just like it can't go off on its own little adventure.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
I need it with 5 words. All right, there's no fluff, so no
yeah.
delving, no transforming. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go check out Meta now because I didn't even think of that's a great point. I didn't even put that together, but
Yeah,
I
because
think that's
Meta
really
is
good.
trained on ad assets, right? So
Yeah.
when I tested it, I just used a very simple prompt, a very basic one, to take a look at the output. And the copy was formatted in the style of top performing ad copy, which was why I was so impressed because the prompt was so short. Whereas
Uh
for
huh.
me to get them with ChatGPT, I have to give it so many, like what you said, parameters and restrictions, which then makes me like guiding the AI to get to where I want to be. But Meta already knows what you want. So I think that could help to close up that gap for copy for you guys.
That's amazing. I'm gonna go. Now. Thanks, Audrey. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole once we jump off here, and really, this will be
I
the
will see
next
your
six
next
hours of my
carousel on
life.
Meta AI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think one thing that I would also like to ask you about is actually starting an AI first business. A question like for someone who is going or trying to go into the AI space, how would you suggest that they build a business around it? Because again, it's new and some clients may not be as receptive to AI. And of course, we are evolving, so more and more people are open to it. But I think there is still some resistance out there. So how do you overcome it? And what is the model that has been working for you?
Do what you're already good at. So I think if you're a copywriter and you're trying to open an AI design business, it's not the same thing. So that's why I don't want to say it's worked for me, but it's told a better story if you want to, because I'm looking at it through the terms of what I've already done. So I've done email marketing, I've done paid media, right? Like I know those industries in and out. I know the common problems. I think it's a big thing, right? Especially if you're a copywriter, you know where the problems are with copy, you know where the problems come with your clients and the copy that you guys write for them and things like that. So it's way easier to translate because you're just making yourself almost bionic, right? Like you're adding an extra layer to your already really decent skill set. So That's how I look at it. I mean, from a like really niching down to start, I think that's actually better than going more mass in general. Looking at again something like where we started was email marketing. It made a lot of sense. We were only doing images for email, but that's because we knew what we needed from the images out of email. We knew what we were trying to do. Before that started to get into, like we could actually trim the process of working on email. So, it started with just getting to know one tool that was really fun, that was really helpful for your own individual workflow and expertise, getting really good at that, and then realizing there's a lot more out there. So, I always tell people ask me this, like why, just like why, basically. It's like, well, number one, it was a necessity, but two, I just knew the pains. Like I know what it's like working in an agency. I know, the back and forth and the revisions between clients. I know the never-ending demand for creative. That's just always been there. So it's just like, how do we just take that problem and turn it in and utilize something to solve it either faster or with higher quality? So, I think those are, if you're looking to start something, just look at yourself first. I think a lot of people go out there and search for market opportunities, and it's like it's a great opportunity, but you're not really interested in it, and you don't know a lot about it. And the time to get to that point of expertise, you've already have a lot of experience. You've already done a lot of things. You've already probably worked with a bunch of bad clients and know what it's like, and I've been burned a ton of times from different things. So that's if there's any piece of advice I have is like, how do you just take your arm and like inject like a basically build a robot arm, like how like what's going to make you better, what's going to amplify you, if that makes sense.
I think there are two very important takeaways, at least from what I got, right? So the first thing is find problems that you want to solve for yourself. And I think
Yeah,
that's how you create a product that is a painkiller and not so much of a vitamin. Because if you have that pressing pain point, there will be other people who are like yourself trying to solve the exact same problem. And the second thing that I really liked about what you said was you already are an expert in a certain field or niche, right? So AI should be the thing that you use to supercharge that, because you still need that foundations of, being an expert in your field and knowing your craft and learning like how to use AI to maximize that craft. So a lot of people think that AI is the solution, but I think for people like us, we realize that the sweet spot is the human AI synergy, and that's where you really see like the magic happen.
totally. I think it's also too, right, like when you're selling, right, let's just say you're selling, if you're talking to an audience that is totally foreign to you, like if you're like, I'm going to be in fintech and utilize AI, but I've only been in fashion design, right? Like when you're talking to the audience, it's not going to sound the same as if, you're coming from a copywriter talking to a copywriter. It's like there's a leveling of the playing field there, and and they know that so it's like, okay, because they talk about these little things. Like we know that, for on the ad side of things, people just, they have less creative, and it kills them because they're just like, clients are like, just run it again. It's like, well, that doesn't make money. Like, just run it again. Things like that. And it's just that that's a pain point that kills them. And then, like, so, we know that we can build products around that. We can build services around that. So it's, to me, it's just really hard to learn an industry, learn a tool, learn a workflow. If you're trying to get something started quick, that's the wrong way to do it. If you like, you don't realize how many things bother you until you start looking for ways to solve them, just like arbitrarily, and then you're like, damn, I do hate this. I hate this little task. This really annoys me. That communication annoys me. So it's, okay, I can fix those. So yeah, that's the other thing. I really just, what you said, 100%, just amplify yourself, solve problems for yourself, because if one person has that problem, more than one person has that problem. It's rarely, you're 1 in 8 billion. I think it's the best way to put it.
It's true. And usually when you find a solution, right, other people who are in the same shoes will really appreciate it. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, that is so smart. Why didn't I think of that? And that's where I think like you see a lot of people starting to slowly understand the potential of AI, especially when people like yourself are sharing your knowledge. So they see what is possible and what can be done instead of like, oh, it's just hype. Now they can see that, oh, it can actually help my agency to get more business, close more clients, and actually you can generate revenue from there, right? And I think that is the beautiful part about learning how to really leverage AI in your business. So wrapping up, Rory, what do you think are some of the key tools that anyone needs to master when it comes to image generation?
I mean, there's my favorite. I'm biased. though. It is Mid Journey because I think it's if you're a beginner, right? Like there's something running something like Stable Diffusion is going to be really hard. Dolly's really easy. To me, the image quality isn't there. Doesn't depends on what you need though. If you need something that's more art focused, Dolly can do the trick, and it's very easy to the one thing I love about ChatGPT with Dolly is having the conversational availability. So being able to like talk to ChatGPT with that, make subtle adjustments to things, but Midjourney can do just about everything. So it's a great. I call it the Swiss Army knife. You can get just about anything you want. If you want to get really precise, you're going to go into different things like Stable Diffusion and different. I love the tool Kriya. Just to throw this one out there, it's so much fun to play around with. If anyone is looking for a way to kill 7 hours of your day or night, you basically put an image in there and you can adjust an existing image and just draw on it. It's really like fun. But yeah, Midjourney to me is obviously, if anyone goes to my profile, you'll know that I have a subtle obsession with it.
Yeah, just really subtle and
Little
it's
subtle.
not obvious at all. and with that, like, where can our audience find you and who should reach out to you, Rory?
Totally. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Rory Flynn, RoryFlynn. But I'm also on Twitter. To be quite candid, I go a little bit more experimental on Twitter than I do on LinkedIn. So if anyone's looking for a good time over there, I also have a newsletter called Systematic, which break down a lot of this stuff more so than just the Midjourney piece of it. Go a little bit more into the operations side. So that's where everything's at. It's been crazy to say the least, but I'm really excited about all this stuff, and I appreciate you too, Audrey, for bringing me on and also help. Like I look at your stuff. And I look at a few other creator stuff to give me the info that I need to actually like work on Midjourney because I know I have to keep up with other things. So when I see everyone else's stuff that's going further and further into these other tools, it's really helpful. So I would like to say thank you for that too.
Ah, that's super sweet to hear. I appreciate that. I also put a lot of thought and work into creating content like yourself because we all want to provide real actionable value for our audience. And with that, thank you so much for your time today, Rory. It was an absolute pleasure. And thank you guys for tuning in. So don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and hit the bell button for more actionable insights. We'll see you in the next show. Thank you, Rory.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey. Take care.